yesterday to a group of people at a leadership retreat in Kananaskis. A person putting together the training had heard some of my talks, and he felt like I might be a nice addition to their training event. So we communicated back and forth for a little while, and then he let me know what the theme of the training was. And the theme of the training was, "This one's a fighter." Wait, right? I'm a lover, not a fighter, okay? So I didn't know how I was going to put it together, but then I sat and I really thought about it, and I thought about what it was that I was assuming they wanted the message to be, and that was to grow as a team, to learn to be persistent, to learn how to overcome obstacles and challenges, to be disciplined and focused. So they're approaching it from, I need to really fight for this thing, right? But I didn't want to approach it like that, so I switched it around a little bit, because I'm allowed to, right? And instead of framing it from a viewpoint of fighting, I decided to take a different tack and to frame it from the viewpoint of being in the flow. And believe it or not, we actually ended up in the same place. Go figure, right? Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. So bear with me. I put actually some effort into this talk, so I'm giving you the same talk. Okay, is that okay with you? You want me to go to a different talk? No, you're cool. Okay. So I personally got a lot out of it working on this talk, so I figured maybe I would share it with you guys. So the first thing that I want you to know about this talk, and the thing that I want you to think about is, and Jenna, this is for you, we live in a friendly and supportive universe. We live in a friendly and supportive universe. Let me share with you what Einstein said. If we decide that the universe is a friendly place, then we will use our technology, our scientific discoveries. Oh, so, I'm sorry, I didn't have the whole quote here. I think the most important question facing humanity is the universe a friendly place? This is the first and most basic question all people must answer for themselves. If we decide that the universe is a friendly place, then we will use our technology, our scientific discoveries, and our natural resources to create tools and models for understanding that universe. Because power and safety will come through understanding its workings and its motives. So it seems like it's kind of hard to believe these days that we live in a friendly, supportive universe. I mean, if we watch the media, if we watch the news, there are people doing really horrific things to other people. We got the whole climate change thing. We got natural disasters. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's too friendly, does it? So what we need to do, and what I encourage people to do, is that rather to get mired in that, is to rise above, to transcend, shall we say, what the media is telling us, and start to look instead at the synchronicity and the orderliness of this world that we live in. Because the evidence of a friendly universe is all around us. Let's take, for instance, this planet we live on. Okay, this planet that is uniquely designed to support us, and support us abundantly. There is no lack of air. There is no lack of water, except for maybe in California. There is no lack of food. There is no lack of sunshine. Everything we need to sustain us and to sustain us abundantly is right here for us, and we don't have to do anything to make it so. It just is. To me, that's evidence that we live in a friendly and supportive universe. Then there's these physical bodies, these incredibly complex systems of energy and matter. And they perfectly support us to live in this world in this life. And again, we don't have to do anything. Go like this for me. That is the only time today that you are going to have to consciously take a breath. Every other breath that you take today, tomorrow, and forever is automatic. It is normal. It is natural. The same thing, we don't have to ask our digestive systems to digest the fuel that we give it. We don't have to ask our hearts to pump the blood. We don't have to ask our veins to send the blood through our veins. All we have to do is the minimum maintenance. And these bodies will last us a lifetime. That was a joke. Again, if you think about it, this is evidence of a friendly universe, a supportive universe. And those are just some of the baser functions of life. What about the finer things in life, like music, like beauty, like literature, like love? Here's what Emerson said. Oh, did I mention I'm teaching an Emerson class? Never lose an opportunity of seeing anything beautiful, for beauty is God's handwriting. The very fact that beauty exists and the very fact that we have the capacity to appreciate it further illustrates this idea that we live in a universe that is here for us. All we have to do is open our eyes, figuratively and literally, and we can see beauty, and we can see that we are being completely and totally supported by life. Yes? Yes. Okay. So, that's it. I wouldn't be honest if I said that I always live in this totally zen place of being in the flow, that I never allow things to bother me. Debating whether to tell you a story. So yesterday, okay, yeah, I digress. So yesterday, I'm driving to Kananaskis where this event was, right? I left right on time to get there right on time. And I didn't factor in 3-day weekend Calgary traffic and construction. Somebody told me in Calgary there's actually only 2 seasons, winter and construction. Okay, so I ran into that, right? And I am zooming down the freeway, and my stress level's getting up there, right? Because, this is an important gig for me, right? And my stress level's getting up and up and up, and somebody's going too slow, and all of a sudden I was like, Pat, you're about to give a talk about being in the flow. Perhaps you should practice what you preach. Oh, yeah. Interestingly, I got there just on time. I know. So, I share that with you because it's true that I'm not always zen about things. But I believe, we use this phrase, it's almost become a cliche in our teaching, but I don't care because it's so powerful. And that is that we are spiritual beings and we are having a human experience. And sometimes that human experience means that there's traffic on the road. And sometimes that human experience means I'm going to be late and I'm getting freaked out. Or it's challenges or it's disharmony. But you know what? Those are not spiritual experiences, although everything is a spiritual experience, but really they are the advent of a human experience. And we are always at choice as to how we are going to respond when life shows up. Which to me is yet a further illustration of a friendly and supportive universe. The fact that we have the power of choice. The fact that we can choose how we are going to see life, either friendly or unfriendly. And it's going to show up for us as we see it. If I'm choosing to see beauty, beauty is what I'm going to see. If I'm choosing to see disharmony, disharmony is what I'm going to see. But the friendly, supportive universe makes it so that if we don't like what we are seeing or experiencing, we are free to choose differently. And that friendly and supportive universe is going to respond accordingly. How cool is that? Is that pretty cool? Yeah. So, let's talk a little bit, now that we understand that we live in a friendly universe and we all agree, let's talk a little bit about being in the flow. So I was researching this topic earlier in the week and I found a quote. You know, you go online and you Google quotes on being in the flow, right? I mean, who doesn't love Google? Oh my gosh, I can't imagine doing my job without the internet these days, right? So I found this quote and I was like, oh yeah, I've actually heard of that guy. And he was saying that going with the flow is actually a negative thing. Because it implies that you're going to be just like everybody else. Oh yeah, I'm just going to go with the flow. It implies passivity and almost laziness. But you understand, I'm not talking about going with the flow. I'm talking about being in the flow. Being in the flow is about consciously working with the energy of the universe and allowing it to be expressed as us and through us. So it's a similar phrase, but it's a different meaning. Because just as we understand that we live in a friendly and supportive universe, we're also coming to understand that there is this natural and normal flow of energy, and that when we work with this flow of energy and we work within its parameters, within how it works for us. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Yeah. When we work with it, it works with us. It's this symbiotic relationship. And the challenge is when we are out of sync with it, then it really hinders our progress. So our goal, of course, is to learn how to work with it so it works with us, and that starts with being in the flow. You know, I get a lot of my inspiration and a lot of my ideas from nature. You know that. I already admitted I'm a tree hugger. It's true, it's true. I love how nature, in her simplicity and her complexity, almost always provides me with the inspiration that I need, whether I'm looking for something for a talk or whether I need something for my spiritual practice or just to feel that sense of peace of mind, I go to nature. So, with that in mind, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share with you an excerpt from a book. It's actually one of our curricula books called Working with the Law. It was written by Dr. Raymond Hollowell. Working with the law, working with the universe is kind of basically the same thing. Now, I want to tell you, normally, I would never, ever, ever read something verbatim from a book during a talk. But honestly, this is the very best illustration that I have ever read for this thing about being in the flow. So I'm going to ask you to bear with me. Michelle, I'm going to ask you to come up and do a little noodling in the background while I share this with you. And if you would like to close your eyes during it, that would be absolutely appropriate because it's very visual. If you don't care to close your eyes, that's okay too. This is from the chapter on the law of non-resistance. Water is very powerful, yet it is the perfect non-resistant element. We can see where it has worn away the hardest rock. We've seen it sweep everything from its torrential outburst. Bridges, buildings, trees, nothing can withstand its force. And yet note how the great river begins. It starts with a small stream or brook high up in the mountains where ice and snow feed it in the springtime. Note also that it is a very crooked little stream. Nothing like the great river it finally flows into. You see the little stream of water run into a huge boulder, a fallen tree, or debris made up of bushes, decayed leaves, and the like. Does the little stream stop with the obstacle and wait for its force to build up so it can push the opposition from its path? No. The little stream is not interested so much in the boulder or the tree as it is in hurrying along and reaching a larger stream, a river, and then the mighty ocean. It does not waste any time with the obstacle, but quietly works its way around the interference and hurries on. It is urged to meet a river, then to be part of the mighty ocean. Thus we see that little stream wind its way around and around many crooks and turns, but each turn takes it nearer its goal. Some people, unwise to nature's method, set up a different one. When they meet an obstacle, they stop their progress to collect their forces and put up a fight to remove it. Yet if we go through life fighting, opposing, resisting, arguing, we are bound to meet with many obstacles and likely become so occupied fighting that we lose sight of our real objective. If we are always getting steeled for the next opposition or trouble, we can expect plenty of it. Whereas if we strive to make little of the obstacle and keep our minds on the objective or the desire we set out to gain, we may have to wind around and around. But if we persevere, we will ultimately win. We will reach the goal. If you had your eyes closed, if you would open them again. And as you listen to those words, and as you visualize that stream making its way down to the mighty ocean, did any ideas, did any solutions, did any possibilities for something that's going on in your life, did anything like that come to your mind as you heard about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Me too. When we're in the mode of having to figure things out, when we're in the mode of needing to overcome things, we're not in the flow. We're not in the flow of ideas or the flow of energy. Indeed, we're not in the flow of the universe. And yet when we allow ourselves to be in partnership with the universe, in other words, to work within its parameters, to work within its nature, we find that those solutions and those possibilities make themselves known to us where we didn't see them before. And here's the really cool part. I mean, it's all cool, but here's the really cool part. When we're in the flow, we have all that energetic power behind us, working with us, carving a way that may not have been there before. How many of you have seen the Grand Canyon? The Grand Canyon was carved by the Colorado River. The Colorado River started as a tiny stream up at the top of a mountain being fed by water and ice and snow. It is one of the great wonders of the world, and it was carved by water. Now, of course, it didn't happen overnight. You understand that. But with persistence, with consistency over time, it formed the Grand Canyon. And the same thing is true for us when we are living in the flow. It's not going to come overnight. Sometimes there's going to be traffic. It's going to take awareness and persistence and consistency to trust the universe. To trust the universe. I want to share one more thing that Hollowell said, but we don't need music for this. He says, another lesson we must learn from the stream is that when it is small and struggling, it has the most difficult time. In the beginning, it will have so many obstacles across its path that it is ever winding around to avoid direct opposition. Silently, it uses the law of non-resistance and grows stronger in force and volume. When it becomes a larger stream and then a river, its path is more direct and the obstacles seem less and less. Learning to live in the flow is like that as well. We have our hardest tests and delays when we are still weak in power and understanding. We strike out on a new path and truth, the obstacles and the tests are going to be plentiful. And as we grow in faith and assurance, we grow stronger and we become much more like the great river. He says here, our course becomes more direct. Our understanding is of greater depth. The mighty ocean, our ultimate objective, is not far from us. So the first step in all of this is to be aware. First of all, to be aware that we live in a friendly universe and it was working with us when we work with it. Put your hand right here and say, I live in a friendly universe.
I live in a friendly universe.
It works with me.
It works with me.
As I work with it.
As I work with it.
Now the next step is to consciously affirm being in the flow of the energy of the universe. Just close your eyes for a second and just feel that flow. Can you feel it? Yeah. Allow yourself to really feel like you were part of something that is more powerful than you had known before. You can open your eyes now, but what you're doing now is you're observing as these solutions and these possibilities show up that hadn't been there before. That's the synchronicity of the universe I'm talking about. And you pay attention as those obstacles and those challenges become fewer, or that you have the tools to deal with them when they do happen. So they become fewer and your successes and your rewards become greater. Because after all, who knows? Who knows what wonders of the world, what mighty oceans are waiting for you because you are choosing to live in the flow. Namaste. I love you, and so it is. So